judges and lawyers of their wigs and gowns.
Rising to Director of Public Prosecutions, he successfully prosecuted a Tory Lord and 3 Labour Party MPs over fraudulent expenses. He was knighted for his work.
Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, is caught in a whirlwind of scandal as UK media just leaked bombshell information that could shake his career to the core. From luxury properties in Soho to high-end penthouses, gifts worth thousands of pounds have been pouring in from millionaire donor Lord Ali. And none of it was properly declared. How deep does Starmer's connection to this wealthy benefactor go? And could this be the beginning of his downfall?
In no small part due to an investment of hundreds of millions of pounds into a solar farm scheme run by a con man. Given the Prime Minister's commitment to integrity in public life,
the scandal surrounding Keir Starmer has been blowing up ever since a shocking leak came from deep within his administration. This isn't just some outside rumour or tabloid gossip. The leak is coming directly from people inside Starmer's team. Whoever leaked this has access to sensitive details that only someone close to the Labour leader could have known, making it clear that the information is authentic and deeply troubling. The leaked details have revealed that Starmer has been enjoying access to luxury gifts, courtesy of Lord Ali, a wealthy donor and a key figure behind the Labour Party's funding.
Any gift or donation to a politician has to be declared. Everything I've had has been declared. And sitting behind the numbers are some human explanations. So quite a lot of that money was for tickets for football matches.
What makes this leak even more serious is how precise and detailed the information is. It's not just general accusations. There are real, hard data about the luxurious properties Starmer has been staying at and the benefits he has received. This isn't something that could have been guessed by outsiders, which raises a big question. Who within Starmer's administration would risk leaking such damaging information? Whoever it is, they have a lot of information and perhaps more to reveal. This kind of betrayal from within shows just how fragile Starmer's leadership may be right now, as even those closest to him seem ready to undermine his credibility.
If I go back to what you claimed in opposition, £4,500 on holiday accommodation, £16,000 on clothing, nearly £3,000 on glasses, over £35,000 in football.
One of the most jaw-dropping aspects of this scandal is the role of Lord Ali, a millionaire donor who has reportedly provided Keir Starmer with access to luxury properties that most people could only dream of. From a £4 million townhouse in Soho to a high-end penthouse in Covent Garden, Starmer and his team have benefited from some very lavish accommodations, all courtesy of Lord Ali. These aren't just simple favours. These are properties that carry a significant financial value, raising questions about why they weren't properly declared. According to the leaked information, Starmer's team initially tried to brush off these gifts as minor benefits, but the truth is far from that. For example, Starmer's family reportedly stayed at an £18 million Covent Garden penthouse for 6 weeks during the election campaign. The problem is, when Starmer declared this stay, he valued it at only £2,000, a figure suspiciously low given the true market value of similar properties. You can imagine the speculation this has sparked. Was Starmer's team trying to downplay the extent of the gift? Or was it an outright attempt to deceive the public? The same goes for the luxury townhouse in Soho, which was reportedly used for high-level election strategy meetings. This townhouse, too, was not properly declared, leading many to question why such valuable properties were being quietly hidden from the public eye.
Prime Minister, you've decided to repay £6,000 worth of gifts. Why now? Why those gifts and not all of them? Have you decided it was wrong to take them, or did you come under pressure?
Look, we came in as a government of change.
The issue of Keir Starmer's undeclared gifts only worsened when it came to light that he had quietly paid back £6,000 worth of hospitality and gifts he had received. The real shock wasn't just the amount, but the timing. Starmer didn't acknowledge these gifts publicly until much later, long after he had already benefited from them. It all raises serious questions about transparency and integrity. The hospitality reportedly came from Lord Ali, just like many of the other perks. and included stays at luxury properties and other high-end benefits. But what caused a stir was that Starmer waited to disclose this long after receiving them. It was only when the media began pressing on the matter that Starmer's team admitted he had repaid the sum. This delay has left many wondering why the repayment was so delayed and whether Starmer hoped the issue would slip under the radar. His team tried to downplay the situation by acting as if the gifts were a minor oversight. But a £6,000 repayment isn't something you forget easily.
If I didn't do that, I couldn't go to Arsenal. I go with my boy. Second example I'll just give you is some of that money was...
Then there's the matter of the clothing donations. Probably one of the stranger parts of this unfolding scandal. It turns out that Keir Starmer received two sizable clothing donations. One for £16,200 and another for £10,000, and didn't properly disclose either of them. That's a huge sum of money in designer clothes, and yet, instead of declaring it as such, Starmer's team categorised it as money for his private office. You can imagine the confusion this caused when people started digging into the records. Why would donations of expensive clothing be declared as money for an office? This misreporting has raised more than a few eyebrows. Was it an innocent mistake, or was there something more deliberate at play? The suspicion is that this was an attempt to mask the true nature of the donations. Labelling it as office money sounds much less controversial than revealing that Starmer was walking around in thousands of pounds worth of luxury clothing. It's this kind of sleight of hand that gets politicians into trouble. Transparency is key in public office, and when the facts are muddied, it only adds fuel to the fire. One of the most surprising revelations to come out of this whole scandal is that Keir Starmer wasn't just using the luxury properties for relaxation. He was holding high-level election strategy meetings in a £4 million townhouse in Soho. This wasn't some casual affair. The townhouse became a hub for his inner circle as they planned key moves leading up to the general election. The fact that a place like this was being used for such important political meetings only adds to the controversy. It begs the question, why wasn't this arrangement properly disclosed from the beginning?
Or with just simply wanting a Labour government to support the Prime Minister. I think...
What makes this even more interesting is the involvement of key figures like Sue Gray, Starmer's Chief of Staff, and Pat McFadden, now the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster. These are high-ranking individuals in Starmer's team, and their presence at these meetings raises concerns about potential undisclosed political influence. After all, using a luxury townhouse provided by a wealthy donor like Lord Ali for such important gatherings naturally leads to suspicions about what kind of influence, if any, Lord Ali might have over Starmer's decisions. Holding these meetings in a place gifted to Starmer by a millionaire donor certainly doesn't look good for someone who promised transparency and a new way of doing politics. Sue Gray, a name familiar to many in political circles, has found herself at the centre of the controversy, and it's adding to Keir Starmer's headaches. As Starmer's Chief of Staff, Gray has been a key player in his administration, but her involvement in this scandal is making waves for all the wrong reasons. Not only was she present at the townhouse strategy meetings, but it's also come to light that she's now paid more than the Prime Minister himself. That fact alone has caused quite a stir, with people questioning whether her influence and power within Starmer's team are being properly balanced. Gray was supposed to bring a sense of discipline and order to Starmer's leadership, but her role in these undisclosed meetings and her hefty pay raise has sparked even more controversy. Many are now wondering if her involvement complicates Starmer's defence, making it harder for him to claim ignorance or distance himself from the scandal. If someone as senior as Gray is caught up in these questionable activities, it reflects poorly on the entire leadership team, and Starmer's promises of running a transparent administration start to look shaky. It's one thing to deal with external attacks, but when those inside your team are caught up in controversy, it becomes a much bigger problem to manage. One of the major red flags in this whole saga is how suspiciously low the valuations of the luxury properties Starmer used have been. Take the £18 million Covent Garden penthouse, for example, where Starmer's family stayed for about 6 weeks during the election campaign. When Starmer declared this stay, he valued it at only £2,000. Anyone who knows the London property market would raise an eyebrow at that. A place like that in Covent Garden can easily fetch £1,800 per day, so for 6 weeks, the actual value would be much, much higher than what was reported. It's hard to ignore the discrepancies between the declared value and the real market worth of these properties. Whether it's the Covent Garden penthouse or other luxury accommodations provided by Lord Ali, these figures simply don't add up. This has led to serious questions about whether Starmer's team intentionally downplayed the value of these gifts to avoid public scrutiny. When you're talking about properties worth millions of pounds, the difference between declaring £2,000 and the real market rate is significant. It makes it look like Starmer's team wasn't just being careless. They may have been trying to minimise the controversy by undervaluing the properties.
Police to urgently find those 5 inmates who are yet to be returned.
Well, that's as Labour is reportedly drawing up plans to introduce a Texas-style prison system with a points-based approach for good conduct.
The government will also look to invest in...
The scandal surrounding Keir Starmer isn't limited to just him. His Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, has also been pulled into the mix. Rayner's involvement comes down to her use of a £2 million Manhattan apartment, another underreported luxury benefit. The apartment, located in one of the most expensive parts of New York, was supposedly used by Rayner during a holiday last year. But when the time came to declare this significant perk, it was drastically undervalued, adding fuel to the ongoing controversy about transparency, or lack thereof, within Labour's leadership. Here's where it gets sticky. An apartment like that in Manhattan's prime real estate market would typically fetch a much higher value than what Rayner and her team disclosed. The price reported didn't come close to the real market value, leading many to believe this was another attempt to sweep things under the rug. Was it just an oversight, or was it intentional? The difference between what was declared and what the apartment is worth raises serious questions about whether Rayner, much like Starmer, is playing fast and loose with the rules. These misreported or undisclosed gifts aren't just about luxury. It's about integrity and whether Labour's leadership is being honest with the public. The broader implications of Rayner's involvement go beyond her alone. When the Deputy Prime Minister is caught up in something like this, it reflects poorly on the entire leadership. If Rayner is willing to underreport such a significant benefit, what else is being hidden? It creates a ripple effect, casting doubt over Starmer's ability to lead with transparency and honesty. In politics, trust is everything. Once that trust is broken, it's hard to win it back. And when 2 of the most senior figures in the Labour Party are implicated in scandals involving luxury perks and questionable reporting, it's not just an individual problem. It threatens the credibility of the entire party.
It was the worst best option to release people early. That's what the Labour Party was saying at the time. The fact that people have been released by mistake is pretty grim.
Well, absolutely. And people were sort of predicting that something like this...
This scandal also calls into question whether there is a culture within the Labour leadership that tolerates or even encourages these kinds of behaviours. Is this a one-off situation? Or does it point to a deeper issue of ethics within Starmer's team? These are the questions the public is asking, and they deserve answers. The Manhattan apartment scandal may seem like just one piece of a larger puzzle, but it's a critical piece that adds to the growing distrust surrounding Labour's leadership. And with Rayner's involvement now front and centre, it's becoming harder for the party to deflect these accusations.